I'm going to shift over to another question here. This is an interesting question. It's from Jay Hines in Oregon.
I think you've already answered
Oh,
23.
Yes, there we go. Okay, yep. Karen, this is your question, so we got that. Jason, you asked, Jason Ferries, what are your views on 215? I don't know bill numbers. You'll have to tell me what that is.
That was the sex education opting bill. It never made it out of committee.
Yeah.
I know it'll get brought up again, so I wonder what your opinions are on it.
Yeah, but well, my second term, and we had a fight over a sex education bill that the governor ended up vetoing. That basically inoculated our legislature against sex ed bills in general because we don't want to touch it because it's like kryptonite. So I don't think you're going to, honestly, I don't think you're going to see any sex ed bills come out of the House for quite a while just because nobody wants to touch them.
So that's your personal opinion as well?
Yeah, I don't. I leave it up to the parents. Let them.
It doesn't happen.
It doesn't work.
Okay, this question comes from Sophie. It says, how can you stand so many meetings 5 days a week from 7 to 9 each night? That's for my daughter. So. Okay, Dale, this is your question. Opiate painkillers create more addicts every day. Eventually, marijuana will become completely legal, I believe. How many more addicts do we need before we quit studying this remedy? So, a little bit of rhetorical opining in there. So, the opiate problem is a massive problem. Let me speak to the opiate problem, right? So, in this room, 1 out of 10 of us will become addicted to opiates if we take them, like OxyContin or a Loratab or some other opiate-based painkiller. We're genetically disposed on a 10% basis to become addicted after being exposed to it. So the problem is that our medical industry relies on these kinds of drugs to deal with pain, right? I mean, I know guys that come out of back surgery and now are taking hits of heroin on the street because they got addicted to OxyContin and it's cheaper to buy heroin than it is to buy an OxyContin pill on the street. It's actually sad and tragic, and it's something that we need to grapple with. I don't have any easy answers other than that doctors need to prescribe less of this kind of drug, and we need R&D to create new kinds of drugs that will mitigate the pain without these terrible side effects. What's that?
Are we fourth in the nation or something?
We're high. Yeah, we're high. I don't know the exact stats, but it's affecting everybody across all aspects of all socioeconomic demographics. It used to be that it was just like a seedy part of town that you'd find these individuals who are addicted, but now it's across the board. So we're working on that, but Karen?
Just to follow up, actually, go back to the tax credit issue.
Oh,
You
okay.
dropped a number a little bit ago, $650 million
Yes.
in tax credits. So the solar credit is less than 20 million of that. Who's getting the rest of it? $630 million a year.
So our senior citizens are receiving about 52 million a year right now.
And how is that granted?
It just shows up on your income tax as a credit. And so that's kind of a nerd center, right? Taking a scalpel to that, all these senior citizen voters out there. There's a laundry, there's 42 different credits.
And how much of that is corporate?
I don't know. I'll have to pull up. I have the spreadsheet. I'll have to look it up. Yeah, I don't know. So that's, I know that the recycling tax credit is a corporate credit, so we'll be moving that over. Right, yeah, it's small, but yeah. So anyway, good follow-up.
Why are you choosing to credit or take away the credit for the solar?
Well, were you here at the first of our?
No, sorry.
Okay. So, well, How about we talk offline afterwards? We spent the first good portion of the meeting on the topic, so we'll talk afterwards. Okay, I'll answer your question.
I have a different question.
Oh, okay, all right.
On your blog, you talked about a national popular vote bill that you are associated with. Could you explain that?
Yes, so the national popular vote is, so I wrote a bill. We abandoned it before it got numbered because we polled the House and we figured out where everybody was at. So we know where everybody's at on this bill now, so we're going to be working over the interim with legislators to educate them on this topic. Fascinating topic. We could probably spend another whole meeting talking about this subject, but basically, battleground state politics is bad for policy at the national level. Because what it does, and we have battleground states, right? If you remember, winner take all, the electors, if you get 51% of the state, all the electors for a state go to the presidential candidate. There's only about 11 states that would be considered swing states that become battleground. And that's if your margin's between 47 and 53% on either side for your party, you're a swing state. So the presidential candidates then focus their energy and money and discussion and conversation on politics in those states, not in the other states, right? The campaign promises they make are made to those people, right? So look at what's happened with our current president. He's come into office and he's immediately rewarded Rust Belt states, right? His trade policies, the America First policy that he has benefits Rust Belt, right? Ohio, Indiana, those areas that have worn away on a manufacturing basis. That's good for them. The problem is that if we enter into a trade war, that's bad for Utah, because we're an export state, right? We make a bunch of stuff, we trade internationally. All of our rural areas have commodities that we export. We grow produce and we ship it across. We buy China's manufactured goods and they buy our grain and other produce, right? So if we enter a trade war with them, they're not going to buy our produce, which means that our rural guys are going to suffer from that. So anyway, bottom line is there's policy distortions that come from a battleground state type of presidential race. So the question is it possible to change the way that our electors vote using a 10th Amendment states' rights, state sovereignty argument, retaining the Electoral College? So we're not throwing the Electoral College away, but using the Electoral College to achieve an end that would create a more balanced presidential race where every state is a battleground state. And the race is for every vote in every state, not just, I know that state's mine, I'm not even going to worry about it type of thing. So the proposal, as we've written it, and we'll be talking to more folks about it, is that we would, as a state legislature, enter into a compact with other states who've also entered into this compact and say that we agree that and we would instruct our electors in our state to vote for whoever won the national popular vote in the United States. Now, in order for that to work, you have to have 270 electoral votes to make that work. So you have to have enough states to equal 270 electoral votes. That would trigger the compact. Now, there's some disagreement on how effective that would be and if it would just create new battleground states or if the campaigning would just happen in populated areas and not rural areas. I could spend an hour talking to you about the nuances of that, but conceptually, that's what the idea is in order to get away from the battleground state phenomena where we have, parts of the country win, other parts of the country lose. It may also, people would say, I'm a Republican, right? People have told me, well, you would have wanted Hillary Clinton to win then. Right? Well, no, I wouldn't have. But I don't even know that Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump would have been the candidates under that kind of a system, right? You probably would have found probably more agreeable candidates on either side of that aisle through that system because those candidates would have to have appealed to everybody, not just a certain contingent of states. Because if you go back to past presidential races, you look at the resume of the candidates, and it's like, oh, well, George Bush, he's good in Iowa because, he had this experience there, and Florida likes him because of this or that, and they'll actually sort of groom the resume to be accommodating to battleground states. So anyway, that's the concept behind it, and we will be having that discussion for a while longer. John, your hand's up high.
If we can take a compact for the Utah legislature to decide that the electors in Utah would be elected or selected and instructed proportionately. So then Utah would have voted for McMullen and Hillary and Trump in that order.
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders, perhaps. So if it was proportional.
Yeah, and there's different ways. Yeah, and there's pros and cons on either side of that. I mean, you've got, well, and I won't get into all the details because we'll get bogged down,
But that's a Utah.
But yeah, the state legislature could direct our electors to do, we'd say, Simon Says, touch your nose, and, vote for the person to your left, or whatever we wanted to do. So it is possible, anything's possible, I guess, because we could direct them to vote however we would prefer.
What was that called again?
The National Popular Vote. If you just go to the website, nationalpopularvote.org.
The
And,
thing that concerns me about that is that if it truly were a national popular vote, Utah's voice would be completely silenced because any national candidate would still appeal to the population centers across the United States.
So that's actually a good point. How much influence and voice does Utah have right now?
Well, we were actually supposed to say here, that's
So-
not true. This
What?
election, Utah had a very
And why was that?
potential there.
Why was that?
Pardon?
Why did we have attention this year?
Just because of the way the electoral college was, the vote.
Because we became swing. We became swing this year. This was the
But we
first
have
time in
potential for that.
forever. And
Potential for that.
so the question is, I mean, if we could guarantee ourselves that sort of attention every cycle, I mean, this wouldn't really be an issue, right? But historically, looking back through time, they fly right over us, right? And so historically, this election aside is the major exception. We've not had much influence in that conversation. And so we would have a 1% impact on the conversation because that's our population, right? We're 1% of the United States, which is better than zero, in my opinion. But we'd at least have something going on here rather than nothing. But there's also an incentive too, because for the other candidates, there's an incentive to run up the odometer, right? If you know you've got a state that's lopsided in your favor, that's great. You can get over, you can get a majority of the votes. But what if you could get more? So what would happen is not only from a political energy standpoint of people being interested in the race and everyone wanting to know what the outcome is going to be and how do our votes offset another state's votes that's voting a different way, but also the fundraising mechanism. So we had $11 million raised in Utah that was airdropped into Ohio, right? It was spent on political energy in Ohio. None of that was really spent here at all. And so under this type of system, you would have political money raised, and it would basically be shifted into the county and state party mechanisms where there's those grassroots efforts, right, where people are involved in the system.
Attention library patrons, the last shuttle to the main library in downtown Ogden will be leaving in about 10 minutes. Thank you.
You've been warned. So there's a funding mechanism too. There'd be more political ads and political discourse going on because there's money to pay for that in that kind of a system, because there's an incentive to do that. Okay, sorry. Boring everyone with the national popular vote discussion. Okay, well, let me mention something we can all agree on. Puppies, ice cream, walks on the beach. Okay, what time is it, by the way? 8:20. Okay. Well, let's wrap up in the next 7 minutes, and we'll get you guys on your way. I know you've been patient. So, can there be a new timeline on 5600 South, and if so, when? Has anyone from the legislature even been on 5600 to see the gridlock constantly? Yeah, I've lived in Roy. I understand 5600 is rough. We have, so there is effort to get redevelopment on I-15 North here. I don't know the exact timeline, but I've been talking with Carlos Banderas, who's the head of UDOT. We have banded together as a Northern Utah caucus to try to push funding initiatives north. The main problem we face politically, if I can be honest with you, is, well, I'm always honest with you, but if I can be blunt, is that we have a small population here. Utah County is exploding in population, and they have just as many representatives in Utah County as we have in Davis and Weber combined. And Davis and Weber are two separate worlds, right? I mean, we've got two different things going on. We've got two separate counties, two separate political structures. And so we are trying to unite and bring in Box Elder and Cash and kind of flex our muscles together as a Northern Utah block to shift priorities up here for funding for that. It's a fight because it's easier to work together if you're all in one county than it is if you're got separate little fiefdoms all around. So
We're looking at 2026 before they ever address that, and we're already in gridlock.
yeah, so well, there's talk about some other arteries further down 1900 South, but I don't know the timeline on those. But we've been discussing them as relief valves to keep traffic off of the main arteries in Roy and Clearfield. So we'll talk some more on that.
Jeremy, could you tell them, who could they contact to put in a suggestion or a complaint? Would it be good to contact UDOT?
So,
Or
well,
who?
I would say call me. The more that you call me on this, we've talked about it periodically, but give me a phone call. Not right now, and call me at the end of March, because right now is rough. But and here's the trick with legislation, most of the work for legislation that's being done right now was done over the summer. When the last day of the session comes, that following morning, I'm opening bill files to be worked on over the summer and meeting with stakeholders so that cake can be nice and baked and ready when it comes time for the session. Usually opening bill files in the middle of a session or pushing an issue in the middle of it is rough because there needs to be a consensus and sort of a collective will of approval. Yes.
But we've had meetings with UDOT, and this is the timeline, and this is when it's going to be.
Well, and this is where you have to get your legislators involved in those meetings. So have them there, and the more you can have there, because, we write the checks to UDOT, and so if we're there.
Attention library patrons, the last shuttle to the main library has arrived and will be leaving in 5 minutes. Please make your way to the shuttle now. Thank you.
And if you think it's gridlock now, I live off 4,000 South.
Oh yeah,
Just try that once they start the construction for 2 years.
Well, and there's
Gridlock now, wait for that one.
There's the West Davis corridor also that's coming up, right? So that's going to be a relief valve as that gets built. UDOT's acquiring land for that, so there will be a west corridor coming up. Okay, last question from Bruce Perry. Bruce, raise your hand. Oh, there. Hey, there you go. I've been talking to you a lot today. Yeah. So, what is your position regarding Bears Ears Monument designation? And do you support the recently signed resolution asking Mr. Trump to rescind the resignation? So I voted for the resolution.
Why?
So actually, it's a good question. So the Bears Ears area currently is governed under NEMA, FLIPMA, Wilderness Protection Act, Wildlife Protection Act. It's BLM land mostly that's governed by all these federal regulations already. The Bears Ears Monument itself was designated and has interesting protection clauses in it, like we will protect dead silence. Right? That's never been quantified in a monument designation before, but that's what the federal administration was trying to protect when they designated Bears Ears as a monument. Dead silence, pristine vistas, right? So these things that are maybe not easily defined in law, and perhaps open to interpretation by someone who's enforcing the law. The other problem with Bears Ears is it's huge, 1 million acres, right? Craters of the Moon is like 400.
Beautiful acres.
Well, and it's been beautiful, and it will continue to be beautiful, I believe,
Have you ever seen a great big drill well sitting out in the middle of that and how beautiful it is?
Well, we can put some shrubs over that. We can just,
Yeah, exactly. That's just the attitude that's
Well-
the state of Utah.
well, most of it's BLM land already, right? But when the monument designation is made and preserving dead silence and pristine vistas, that puts some serious constraints on the use of the land for the locals who have depended on that land for a long time. So anyway, that's my position. So,
And thank you for doing that.
so we will conclude. We didn't get through all the cards. I apologize. We'll do this again sometime. One final.
I want to hear about clean air.
Oh, okay.
Just really quick, I do appreciate this town hall, and I feel a disconnect from you, honestly.
Is it because you're sitting so far back, or?
Yeah,
Oh.
I realize you have a sense of humor, but I don't know you personally at all. And I'm just gonna say really quick on your blog about the Women's March.
Oh, yeah.
And I will just say that I don't agree with everything here, but I do respect and I appreciate your good intentions. However, I feel like, and it's not just me, I'm speaking on behalf of some people who feel like they are in the minority culture within Utah, but we are wondering if you feel like you are connected to the community you're representing, and what do you do other than town halls once in a blue moon to connect to us and hear us, and do you actually feel like you are representing us, and do you care what we have to say? Because we are of the minority. We are taxpayers as well.
Oh, sure,
We want
yeah,
to know
so-
that you are not only mocking us, that you
Right,
are
well,
hearing us, and you
well,
care.
so let me speak to the women's march.
It's about the non-traditional Utah.
Right,
Do you
well-
care about our voice?
I would invite you to come and see where I live. Right.
I
And
know.
so-
My sister knows you. I'm not
Okay.
attacking you personally.
Okay, so-
As a professional, you are my state representative.
Right. So here's, so I guess you're kind of asking, so restate your question for me. 'Cause
How are you staying connected, not as my friend, but how
Right.
are you respecting the community, that diverse community that you are supposed to be representing? Are you in touch with us and our
Well,
opinions?
Yes, let me put it this way. Of all the representatives on the Hill, I am the most communicative via social media, email, and reaching out. What was that?
But are you listening to us? I
Well,
understand you're saying you have a voice, you have a blog.
Right, well, the reason I have that blog is to inform and invite conversation, right? So people call me up, people email me, hey, I've got this issue, what do you think? Now, I can listen and I can hear it. We may not necessarily agree, right? Because reasonable minds can disagree.
Yes,
But, right. Now, let me just say about the Women's March, right? So, I'm a tongue-in-cheek kind of guy. You probably can tell I'm a little bit, maybe not. Maybe I've been completely serious. So I'm a little bit of a clown, right?
Nothing's funny about it.
Well,
It wasn't funny.
so part,
It wasn't funny.
and I don't want to be divisive, but let me just say that there was a couple points that I was making, perhaps in an overly facetious way, that was done in poor judgment. But one is, how many of us don't like vulgar speech, right? I don't like vulgar
But I
speech, right?
agree with free speech.
Well, no, and that's perfectly fine, right? And we can disagree on free speech. Like, okay, I respect your right to say that, but I disagree, and I'm going to say this, and so we go back and forth. But in my opinion, the messages that were being conveyed were ironic in the fact that they were denouncing vulgarity, but using vulgarity to denounce vulgarity. So that was, to me, it was disappointing and ironic, and I was trying to wrap my head around
Are
that.
demanding that rape kids, so using the word rape and sexual assault is offensive to you?
No, the profanity was offensive.
Be
The-
tested, that a 2-year backlog of rape kits?
No, that's
Even wearing the JJ hat.
hey, Karen, the profanity was offensive to me. The profanity was offensive. And so the other thing was that the march was a variety of different things. It wasn't focused on one thing, which was unusual, because normally we have very focused protests at the Capitol, with a specific demand or a specific issue, and this was a miscellaneous, a
It was
miscellaneous.
a show of
It
power
was-
of people of a very wide variety of coalition.
Well, exactly, a wide variety, yeah, I would agree.
Yes.
So,
They want to be listened to.
well, so anyway, we've buried the hatchet on that, I hope, and we're moving on, but,
Tell us
I love the gentleman that he
what
helps
you're
me as a
doing
minority
to support
politician
clean air.
all the time, and he is responsive to the minority Muslim community. And I just want to say that he's a wonderful person, and we should applaud him for his efforts, for all he does for all of us. He works hard for us.
well, thank you. So you want to hear about clean air?
Yeah, I'd like to know how you're supporting clean air. Tell us.
So basically, the holy grail of clean air right now is getting Tier 3 refinery conversion, right? Our cars are the biggest polluters, and the fuel in them is substandard compared to what it could be. Federal EPA requirements require us to go to Tier 3. The problem being is that because we're a small market, we will be the last ones in the country to switch over to Tier 3 unless we do something to speed up that conversion. Last year, we had a bill that would incent our refineries to convert early, right? It was like a $60 million price tag to do that. I voted for that bill. There was not enough funds to fund it last session. I don't know, so House leadership ran the bill, as Francis Gibson. I don't know if that bill is coming back. I haven't followed that specific issue because I've been focusing on my bills, but I was aware that the bill came up on the floor. I explored what the bill was, and I supported it at the last session. I think that that's the biggest bang for the buck if you're using taxpayer money to get the air cleaner. That's the biggest bang for the buck. So if that comes up again, I'll support it. Other things with the solar bill, just to speak about the solar bill again, we carved out other solar technologies from the credit. So we're just focusing on photovoltaic because that's the one that everyone's buying and the industry is successful right now. Solar thermal, which actually does have clean air implications, right? Because if you can heat, like right now our electrical generation is in these big facilities in Huntington Canyon and Delta outside of the Wasatch Front, so they don't really contribute to our inversion problem. And the solar that we put on our roofs doesn't displace, it makes the air cleaner in Delta, but not in the inversion itself. So, but solar thermal would displace your water heater. It would help offset your house heating, you know, the combustion that occurs with natural gas to heat your home. That would offset that. So we left solar thermal untouched in the tax credit reduction because we want that technology to do something. The question is, it's more expensive than photovoltaic right now. So if that technology actually starts to improve, and if my $1 million competitive grant program can identify companies that are doing that, you know, we can help push that effort along. So that's what I'm specifically doing. I can't speak to other folks' bills that I haven't followed those too closely. So hopefully that answers most of your question.
Quickly, in connection to that, similar, what are we doing to regulate wood burning in homes?
Oh, that's you want to get the pitchforks and torches out. Regulate wood burning, right? Did you see the last efforts when DEQ came out and said, "Yo, we're going to regulate that"? That's more kryptonite for the legislature. I don't think you're going to see wood burning touched by the legislature.
Are you aware of how something
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I am aware, but politically speaking, it'll be a room filled more than this, and people will have torches and actual pitchforks ready to.
Why?
It's just a different group of folks that you know, the different worldview. So, all right, we're going to let the last question go to Jason in the back.
Quick question, yes or no? Are you aware that the House Bill, the 212, the incentivize, actually pulls $380,000 for the general education fund to incentivize these teachers?
So,
That's where
well-
the funding part comes from, $380,000 from.
well, yeah. So this is Rob and Peter to pay Paul, right? So the question is, it's a question of priorities within the education budget. So that's.
It's not extra money for education.
It's not extra money for education. It's saying, okay, we're going to take our resources and say that this is a priority for us. So
Instead, we could pay teachers more reasonably, or we could hire more teachers. We're just going to take that money and make them fight over it.
we're fighting over it, but the teachers would receive it. But yeah, the legislature's the one fighting it.
Well, if you're incentivizing it based off of merit, that makes them fight over it.
Yeah, so, well, that's, it is what it is. I think we've explained it. So, okay, all right, one last question.
Can I just comment on that bill, because I listened to the Education Appropriations Committee last week on Monday.
Okay,
They, like some counties, Roosevelt School, they have 60% of their teachers quitting each year.
Mhm.
So they are low income, they can't retain teachers, that's why they want that bill, to try to keep teachers.
it's a problem not only with,
Problem.
well, it's a problem with teachers specifically, it's like a crisis level. It's also a problem with the rest of our state employees too. I mean, it's, fire, police, other services provided, it's a real problem. So, okay, I'm turning the mic off now. Thank you for coming
About